It has been said by someone that the proper study of mankind is man. I will not oppose the idea, but I believe it is equally true that the proper study of God's elect is God. The proper study of a Christian is the Godhead. The highest science, the loftiest speculation, the mightiest philosophy which can ever engage the attention of a child of God is the name, the nature, the person, the work, the doings, and the existence of the great God whom he calls his Father. There is something exceedingly improving to the mind in a contemplation of the divinity. It is a subject so vast that our thoughts are lost in its immensity, so deep that our pride is drowned in its infinity. Other subjects we can understand and grapple with. In them we feel a kind of self-content and say, "Behold, I am wise." No subject of contemplation will tend more to humble the mind than the thoughts of God. We shall feel obliged to say, "Great God, how infinite art thou! What worthless worms are we!" But while this subject will humble the mind, it also expands it at the same time. He who often thinks of God will have a larger mind than the man who simply plods along this narrow globe. He may be a naturalist boasting his ability to dissect a beetle or arrange the insects and animals in classes with unutterable names. He may be a geologist able to hold a conversation on the megatherium and the plesiosaurus and all kinds of extinct animals. He may imagine that his science, whatever it is, ennobles and enlarges his mind. I dare say it does, but after all, the most excellent study for expanding the soul is the science of Christ and Him crucified and the knowledge of the Godhead in the glorious Trinity. I know nothing which can so comfort the soul, so calm the swelling tide of grief and sorrow, so speak peace to the winds of trial, than when we have a devout contemplation upon the subject of the Godhead. It is to this subject that I invite you today. I shall present you with one view of it, that is the immutability of God, the immutability of the glorious Jehovah. I am, says my text, Jehovah, for so it should be translated. I am Jehovah, I change not. Therefore, you sons of Jacob are not consumed. An unchanging God. We have set before us the doctrine of the immutability of God. I am God, I change not. We cannot tell you what Godhead is. We do not know what substance that is which we call God. He is in existence, it is a being. But what that is, we do not know. However, whatever it is, we call it His essence, and that essence never changes. The substance of mortal things is ever changing. The mountains, the rivers, the oceans, even the majestic sun itself is a dying star. All creatures change. The fabric of which this world is made is ever passing away. Like a stream of water, drops are running away and others are following after, keeping the river still full, but always changing in its elements. But God is perpetually the same. He is not composed of any substance or materials, but is spirit, pure, essential, and ethereal spirit. Therefore, He is immutable. He remains everlastingly the same. He is the great I am, the great unchangeable. He changes not His attributes. Whatever the attributes of God were of old, they are now. As the old song goes, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world and without end. Amen. Was He powerful? Was He the mighty God when He spoke the world into existence? Was He the omnipotent when He piled the mountains and scooped out the hollow places for the rolling deep? Was He wise when He made this mighty globe, when He laid the foundations of the universe? Had He the same wisdom when He planned the way for our salvation? Yes, yes, and yes. He is the same giant in His might. He is unchanged in His wisdom. He knows as much now as ever, neither more nor less. He is unchanged. He varies not in the goodness and generosity and benevolence of His nature. He is not become an almighty tyrant where He was once an almighty Father, but His strong love stands like a granite rock, unmoved by the hurricanes of a sin. And blessed be His dear name, He is unchanged. Take any attribute of God and I will write semper idem on it, always the same. Take any one thing you can say of God now and it may be said not only in the dark past but in the bright future. It shall always remain the same. I am Jehovah, I change not. Then again, God changes not his plans. A man began to build but was unable to finish. So he changed his plan as every wise man would. He built upon a smaller foundation and commenced again. But has it ever been said that God began to build but was unable to finish? No. When he has boundless stores at his command, and when his own right hand would create worlds as numerous as the drops of morning dew, shall he ever stay because he has not power, and reverse or alter or change his plans because he cannot carry out? Every man has his plans, and God has a plan too. God is a mastermind, and once having settled it, mind you, he never alters. This shall be done, says he, and the iron of destiny marks it down, and it is brought to pass. This is my purpose, and it stands, nor can earth or hell alter it. Yet again, God is unchanging in his promises. We love to speak about the sweet promises of God, but if we could ever suppose that one of them could be changed, we wouldn't talk about them anymore. If I thought that the notes of the Bank of England could not be cashed next week, I would decline to take them. And if I thought that God's promises would never be fulfilled, if I thought that God would see it right to alter some word in his promises, farewell scriptures. Oh, says one child of God, I had built my house firmly upon some stable promises. There came a wind, I said, O Lord, I am cast down, and I shall be lost. Oh, the promises were not cast down. The foundation were not removed. It was your little wood, hay, stubble hut that you had been building. It was that which fell down. You have been shaken on the rock, not the rock under you. But let me tell you what is the best way of living in the world. Then let us say, Lord, there is the promise. It is your business to fulfill it. Down I go on your promise flat. No standing up for me. That is where you should go. Prostrate on the promise, and remember, every promise is a rock, an unchanging thing. Therefore, at his feet, cast yourself and rest there forever. But now comes one jarring note to spoil the theme for some of you. As God is unchanging in his threats, if every promise stands and every oath of the covenant is filled, hear you, O sinner, mind the word. Hear the death knell of your carnal hopes. Every threat of God as well as every promise shall be fulfilled. Talk of decrees? I will tell you of a decree. He who believes in him is not condemned. That is a decree and a statute that can never change. Be as good as you please. Be as moral as you can. Be as honest as you will. Walk uprightly as you may. There stands the unchangeable thread. He who believes in him is not condemned. What do you say to that, O moralist? Oh, you wish you could alter it and say, he who does not live a holy life shall be condemned. That will be true, but it does not say so. It says, he who does not believe. Here is the stone of stumbling block and the rock of offense, but you cannot alter it. You must believe or be damned, says the Bible, and marked threat of God is as unchangeable as God himself. Oh, terrific thought! How dare I utter it? But I must. You must be warned, sir, lest you come to this place of torment. You must be told the rough things. For if God's gospel is not a rough thing, the law is a rough thing. Mount Sinai is a rough thing. Woe unto the watchman that warns not the ungodly. God is unchanging in his threats. Beware, O sinner, for it is fearful to fall into the hands of the living God. We must hint at one thought before we close, and that is, God is unchanging in the objects of his love. Not only in his love, but in the objects of it. If God has loved me once, then he will love me forever. Did Jesus once upon me shine? Then Jesus is forever mine. Those whom God has called, he will justify. Whom he has justified, he will sanctify. And whom he sanctifies, he will glorify. Remember, God is the same, whatever is removed. Your friends may become disgruntled, your ministers may be taken away, everything may change, but God does not. Your brothers may change and cast out your name as vile, but God will love you still. Let your station in life change and your property be gone. Let your whole life be shaken and you become weak and sickly. Let everything flee away. There is one place where change cannot put his finger. There is one name on which mutability can never be written. There is one heart which can never alter. That heart is God's. That name, love.